What is up guys, Kris05 with another video here. Today I want to give you guys some tips on how you can get better at Hearthstone and climb ranks faster. It really doesn't take that much, and with this video I hope you will be able to reach your goals in the next few months. I will also include a bonus tip on how you can climb ranks a lot easier in the end of this video, so don't go anywhere. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to pick a deck you are comfortable with. Personally, when I am looking for a new deck, I like to check out sites like Tempostorm.com and see what the tier 1 and tier 2 decks are, and go from there. It is very important to pick a deck that is close to your playstyle. I prefer tempo, aggro and mid-range decks, so I try to stick with those archetypes. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing those slow heavy control decks as well, but I only play them for fun, since I can't afford to climb with them. I just don't have 15 to 20 minutes for a single game, so you should consider this factor when you are deciding your deck. After all, in the end of the day, your win percent and the number of games you play will decide what your final rank will be, so being able to play more games usually is the better choice. Playing slow decks doesn't necessarily increase your win rate, so the obvious choice, especially for newer players, is to go with faster decks, with which you will be able to do a lot more games, see a lot more opponents, and overall learn a lot more about the meta and your matchups. After you pick your deck, just stick with it. Don't change it if you do horribly with it in your first 10 to 20 games. If the deck is in tier 1 or tier 2, then it must be good, and you're just not playing it optimally yet. In order for you to really learn your deck, you need to know its limits, what it's good against, what it's bad against, what you should mulligan and how you should play it versus each class and versus each deck. Some people are fast learners, others need some more time, so if you are from the second type, just give it some time. Don't try to constantly switch between decks, looking for that perfect deck that can beat every other deck. It simply does not exist. Also, you will have bad games, bad luck and bad RNG, and that's normal. Just stay positive, keep playing at your best, and things will start happening. If you find yourself not enjoying the deck and its playstyle after you did a lot of games with it, maybe it's time you cut your losses and find something else that suits you better. After all, you will have to do a ton of games in order for you to climb that ladder really hard, and if you hate playing your deck, what's the point? Fun fact, it took me more than 200 games to reach Legend for my first time, and I used Combo Dragon Priest, a class I had never touched before. I actually reached rank 1 with 4 stars, and after that I dropped all the way back to rank 3 with 0 stars, in a massive losing streak. I didn't change my deck, and I kept playing it, and in the next 2 days I reached Legend. In the end, just don't lose hope and believe in your deck. For comparison, in the next 2 seasons, I reached Legend a lot easier, with less than 70 games, again with decks I had never touched before. What I'm trying to say is that reaching a certain rank gives you the confidence that you can do it, so you just have to keep pushing each season and just climb your way to greatness rank by rank. All you have to do is set your mind to it. Another thing you need to do is get a deck tracker. I will not go into details here, since I already talked about Hearthstone deck tracker in my last video, so I will just put a link to it in this card so you can check it out if you missed it. This program really gives you so much valuable information, and you just can't afford not to use it, because you can be sure your opponent is using it, or at least 99% of them. Another thing this program does is tracks your win rates versus each class. It can help you when you're deciding on your playstyle versus your opponent. If you have a very low win rate versus a class for instance, it's time to get really greedy with your mulligans and take risks. Sometimes there's just no other way to win versus those guys, so maybe it is worth for you to risk playing that stacked Emerald Spellstone with 4 free wolves against that warlock and just hope he doesn't have that Hellfire. What else? Oh yeah, learn the meta. This is the main difference between a good player and a great player. Knowing 90% of your opponent's deck as soon as they play their first cards is insanely strong, and it is not that hard to achieve. You just have to be well informed and do your research. It doesn't matter that you only play one deck, if you want to win more, you have to know what your opponents are playing. Sites like Tempostorm, Vicious Syndicate, Hearthstone top decks and such do a wonderful job on this part, and if you really want to climb in ranks, you need to get familiar with their popular decks each season. Know what they run, know what they tech, know what they mulligan against you, and know their strategy and win conditions. If you do your homework, you will have a great advantage over your opponent, and you will know exactly what you need to do to win. The last thing you need to do is focus while you grind that ladder. Don't watch a movie while you play, don't talk to someone on the phone, don't read a magazine or scroll through Facebook and such. Just focus and try hard. You wanna climb, don't you? Then give the game your all and do your best, because anything else is just casual play. What I like to do when I'm tryharding on ladder is fire up Tempostorm before I start the game and open their guides for the decks I'm playing. It doesn't even have to be the exact same deck they're featuring, you can always add your twist to it and still use their guide for the mulligan. When the game starts, I check what their preferred mulligan is against that class and compare it to my own idea. Don't follow it blindly and adjust accordingly when you have the coin. Next, as soon as you identify your opponent's deck, check the guide for that deck as well and see what their preferred mulligan is against you. Pay attention to what your opponent is mulliganing. If he swaps his entire hand, chances are slim that he has an optimal hand against you. If he swapped only one card, you can be sure that he has 2 or 3 great cards against your class. It's all in the detail. Checking the win rates for your deck against your opponents also helps when you decide how risky you should be playing. You should also always wait a few seconds before you take your turn, because sometimes you will miss obvious things. There are times where you will be so concerned about your opponent's board that you blindly miss the lethal you just drew or even had all along. In the end of the day, Hearthstone is a card game, and with all card games, there is a good amount of luck involved in it. Don't get too frustrated when you lose a game because of bad RNG. Some days you will have great win streaks, others you will have losing streaks, but as long as you keep playing at your best, things will start to happen. And here is the advice for climbing the ladder easier, which I promised in the beginning of this video. If you are having trouble climbing, give the season some time. As you know, after each season reset, everyone is pushed back by 4 ranks and you will be playing versus a lot harder opponents in the beginning of the season. It would be better if you just have fun for the first 2 weeks of the season, maybe testing out some new decks or smashing the arena, and you can start climbing the ladder in the second part of the month. I know this seems pretty obvious to some of you, but I have a lot of friends who are shocked when they can't move from their rank at the beginning of the season. So that's it for this video, guys. I really hope this helps you smash that ladder like a champ and eventually hit legend. Trust me, the feeling is amazing, and once you achieve it, you will have a much easier time doing it every month from there on. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Kris05 and I'll see you in my next video.